Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the NJ5 PAC Chat. We are here today to discuss the New Jersey Department of Health memo that went out to New Jersey stakeholders on Monday, May 8th, 2023. They were asking the stakeholders to review a PowerPoint presentation and provide feedback by tomorrow, May 31st, on their proposed revisions of the New Jersey Administrative Code. Specifically, that covers communicable diseases and related topics. The current rule is set to expire on February 8th of 2024. And so this is the first part of their process to get feedback from the stakeholders. We're going to show you a short video that we put together that highlights some of the concerns about the proposed revisions and additions to this code. So that was a short overview of some of the points that we thought were very concerning regarding the proposed revisions and additions to this code. And so we'd like to just show you a graphic, specifically what we want to talk about today. And this graphic talks about, how the code revisions proposed want to align immunization requirements specified in this subchapter with the current ACIP recommendations. So the New Jersey Department of Health is proposing to add or mandate for schooling, possibly the COVID-19 vaccine, the flu vaccine, the HPV vaccine, because all of those vaccines are recommended by the ACIP. And this would be for all New Jersey students K-12 who attend public school. They also are suggesting that they allow for private schools to allow any vaccine to be added to their required list. So that would include preschools, daycares, any private high schools or religious schools in the state, as well as colleges. They're also would allow colleges to require any vaccine, whether it's on the ACIP recommended list or if it's required by the state of New Jersey. They're also looking to expand the New Jersey vaccine registry and allow for the reporting requirements to track vaccine status of children to go from age 7 to 17. And is also seeking to allow the Department of Health and the local Department of Health offices to have access to the electronic health records of patients. So we're really concerned about what they are proposing. So I'd like to invite Rula Ballantyne, my other board member for NJ5 PAC, as well as Senator Holly Schepisi of District 39 here in New Jersey, to talk about this topic. because we are very much alarmed about the fact that this could happen unbeknownst to parents and kind of skirting around the legislative process, where in 2019 and 2020, we were able to protect and preserve the health freedom of the religious exemption because we all activated and connected with our legislators and showed up in Trenton. This seems to be like a workaround. And so thank you so much for joining us, Senator Schepisi.
Thank you for having me.
So, Senator, you were one of the first people to speak up about these proposals. So can you let our viewers know a little bit about how this was brought to your attention and why it was so alarming to you?
It was brought to my attention actually through an email that was sent to my legislative office by someone who wanted to remain anonymous but happens to be a school nurse. And they had received the email directly from the Department of Health as a quote unquote stakeholder. And they had some concerns themselves as a mother. And so I immediately went on to the Department of Health website and I said to my staff, there's nothing on the Department of Health website in the area where they generally take questions and comment. So I asked my legislative staff to reach out directly to the Department of Health to get clarification and see what was taking place. When a day went by and we hadn't received a response, we then reached out to the governor's office directly for clarification as to what was being proposed. And we got a non-answer of, well, nothing's being proposed at this time. And that's generally code for we're waiting until November because the entire legislature is up. And we know that this is controversial. And as with a lot of controversial things in the state right now, when there isn't the appetite in the legislature to legislatively move something forward, we've been seeing time and again our agencies, our commissioners, through administrative rule changes, putting forth the very same policy that the legislature politically either knows is not expedient for their reelection chances, or that they just don't have the votes to do it within the legislature. And so I did reach out to a couple of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle as well. And I said very simply, this is, parents are going to lose their minds if all of a sudden through a rule change, your child can't attend school without having a COVID vaccine, an HPV vaccine, a flu vaccine on top of everything else that's there. And it's my understanding that a couple of members of the legislature who felt that they may be in a vulnerable district actually called the administration directly saying, what are you doing to us? You've got to take this back. And that's when the clarification got issued that, there's no changes pending at this time. But it is something that I know for myself, this isn't about pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. This is a continued path in the state of government and governmental agencies saying that we know better for your children than you do. And we know better for your children on all topics, whether or not it be educational mandates, whether or not it be vaccine mandates, or a whole host of other things that we've seen continuously coming down the pike. And that parents can't make these decisions in conjunction with their own doctors and their own families as to what's best for their own child.
So just to reiterate, Senator, You believe that this is a possible way or is a way for these agencies to circumvent the legislative process when it comes to controversial issues like vaccine mandates.
Unequivocally. And, if this was a one-off, I could understand, the administration saying, no, we're not going to do it. But there is a long history over the past couple of years of doing this, whether or not it be through the State Board of Education, whether or not it be through new rules being promulgated through the DEP. We're seeing it right now, even with proposed rule changes through the BPU, where you heard the administration after like people kind of cried out saying, wait a second, you're going to ban stoves in New Jersey. And all of a sudden it was, no, we're not coming after your stoves. Well, not legislatively, but there are proposed rule changes to codes that would effectively do that. We saw it even with the Reproductive Freedom Act, where it was viewed amongst Democrats that it went too far and would not be received in a positive way based upon polling data from people in the state. And so a much watered version of the bill did move forward, with the more controversial parts actually being done pursuant to rule changes within the Department of Health, without really the knowledge or discussion with anybody that was simultaneously taking place.
So without representation in these agencies, what are concerned parents to do in this particular situation? What do you think the best course of action would be?
I think all concerned parents have to hold their elected officials accountable. They need to have their voices heard. We saw just 2 years ago, through the power of parents' voices, controversial legislation that would have eliminated religious as well as almost every medical exemption from moving forward, which would have enabled legislatively the Department of Health to also add to vaccine schedules anything that it determined that it wanted to put on there. Because of parents' voices, because of people coming down, because of people contacting their legislative representatives, and an election cycle in which it was one of the closest races in New Jersey, with a lot of seats flipping, a lot of legislative districts being much closer than people had ever anticipated, it stopped that bill in its tracks. We have all members of the legislature, all 120 members, up for re-election in November. This is a time where oftentimes people go, oh, my vote doesn't matter, my voice won't be heard. This is one of the most important elections ever in the state of New Jersey. It is one of the first times in over 20 years that we could actually have a flip in the legislature. It's been controlled by one party for over 20 years. And in the event that there are additional seats that flip, in the event that we do take single party control out of Trenton, then you have the ability to stop some of these things in its tracks. If this goes through after the election and the state is still controlled by one political party, there is going to be no ability to reverse it. The only way to do it is legislatively, and to be able to move forth legislation saying, no, we disagree with this. And the only way you get that to move forward is if you have balance, which we haven't had.
Great points. And it's so important that everyone understands how important their vote is this year, in not only next week's primary election, but in November's election as well. Right. Senator, do you have any thoughts about why the Department of Health, or the powers that be, are seeking to allow for private schools and colleges to require any vaccine that they warrant or that they want, above and beyond what's required of public school students and what's recommended by the ACIP?
I think that's probably coming out of some of the litigation that's gone on over the past couple of years. New Jersey colleges, in particular, really put forth much more draconian rules than most places, schools, as well as colleges around the country. A lot of people were unaware that, even if you were remote, in some colleges in New Jersey, they were mandating that you were not permitted to be able to sign up for class unless you had not only the original 2 shots, but all of the shots thereafter. And it was unconscionable. As a remote student who was not attending class, you were being mandated to register for classes to have shots that you didn't want. And there have been some pending lawsuits regarding it. And I think this is just, once again, going too far and saying moving forward, if there's some new shot or vaccine that gets created next year, guess what? We're going to experiment on our students, and we're going to mandate that you're not even allowed to register for your classes unless you get the shot of the day. And I think it's a real slippery slope in taking away any sort of personal choice. For a state that claims that they're so liberal and all about choice and all about this and all about that, it's only about choice if you agree. There is no choice if, for personal reasons, medical reasons, or otherwise, you say, you know what, this just doesn't happen to be right for me. I know for myself, I felt immense pressure to get the first 2 shots. I got the first 2 shots. Guess what? I had severe reactions. My entire life I've had severe reactions to certain vaccines. And I ended up developing a heart spasm and a heart hiccup where I now have syncope events. My own cardiologist has forbidden me from ever getting a booster, even if I was so inclined, which I was not. And now I'd have to be justifying to go back to school, and have people second guess me and my doctor. It's insane.
That's a great point. A great point that, one size fits all medicine doesn't fit everyone the same way. And that, that's something that we at NJ5 PAC stand for is, informed medical consumers. We want people to have all the information, to have true informed consent so that they can make a choice for themselves or their family members.
And I think that's what we're eroding. And for me, that's the most important element and component, that medicine is not one size fits all for everybody. And, we need to ensure that people still have that flexibility, whether or not it be a religious exemption, whether or not it be a medical exemption. And where do we stop this? Some of the proposed rule changes focus upon these registries and database and erosion of HIPAA by allowing not only just State Department of Health, but local boards of health from being able to access your medical records at hospitals. We have databases that we have no idea how they're going to be utilized, and it's not informed consent. People don't understand that as we stand here today, as a result of what's gone on the past couple of years, your doctor, if you go to urgent care, they can look up and see whether or not you've had the COVID shot, whether or not you've had various things without your knowledge or consent or approval. And I think we need to really stay on top of, 1, how this data is being used, 2, what it's being used for, and 3, the privacy component for people.
I think it's important to note that what we saw from the New Jersey Department of Health was a wish list of things that they want, right? And as you know, with any wish list, right, the whole point is that you're not going to get all 10 wishes that you ask for. It's going to be limited. And when we heard the denial of the expanded mandated list, so we are, there's nothing in the works to get the COVID vaccine mandated for students or HPV or flu. look over there, that's gone. But I think we need to know there's 9 other wishes on that list, and those are not going away. And I think the Department of Health is going to push to get those wishes granted if one does not, right? So we have to remain activated and not kind of take what they say at face value. Okay, the mandate is gone. And to dig a little bit deeper into what the other proposed proposals are, like the expanded tracking, like giving colleges and private schools the ability to mandate whatever vaccine they seem fit. So this is an important issue, and it is important that, as you said, Senator, before, to hold our legislators accountable and to use the tool that we have to submit our comments to the NJDOH. And I want to say that link is still live. So if everyone's watching right now, know that we still have the ability to submit public comment to the Department of Health. Although, Governor Murphy made a statement that nothing is moving forward, the link is still live. So to me, I don't know about everyone else, if there is a link live to still provide comment, I don't think all of these issues and proposals have died. So we will add the link to submit comment. I urge everyone watching this, and when it asks who you are or what your role is, a concerned parent is strong enough. You don't have to belong to a certain organization to submit comment, even though they may ask for it on that list. I think a stakeholder, as a parent, you are the #1 stakeholder in your child's health. So don't be discouraged to submit comment if they are asking for an organization. We also have a action item through Stand for Health Freedom, our national partner. You can go there and contact your legislators directly, urging them to take action. We'll provide that link as well. I believe it's on the bottom of our screen right now. It's standforhealthfreedom.com/New Jersey or NJ, and you can find all the action items there for our particular state. So, yes.
One thing that I just want to throw in there as well is, if you reach out to your legislator and they go, oh, the governor already said this isn't going to happen, or the DOH says they're not going to do it, you know what? Get a commitment from them. Ask them specifically, in the event that they do this, will you pledge to sponsor or vote for legislation that reverses it, and see what they say?
That's very smart. Very smart. Yeah. And, it's about accountability. Write that you say nothing's going to happen. Well, get that in writing, or have them pledge, like you said, that they would oppose or, pass forward legislation that would reverse this. And it's very hard to do that, right? It's very hard to go in and reverse things once they move forward. So right now we're in a stronger position to make sure we just stop this from moving forward, take action now, than having to go backwards and fix this problem. Again, we will share these action items we will post them in the comments. They also will send them out to our followers as a action item to our email followers. And Senator, do you have any closing remarks before we head out?
I just continue to have your voices heard, continue to hold those that are representing you accountable, and don't let them wiggle out. Demand actual concrete responses as to where they stand and whether or not they will, kind of turn a blind eye in the event that this does take place through rule changes as opposed to legislation.
Great advice. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and look out for our calls to action. Go to our website or our YouTube to get those links.
Right. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for being so outspoken on this issue. We look forward, as always, to speaking again and having you on.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.